All right, we need to talk about something that's been popping up on social media feeds. And honestly, it's one of the most disturbing and just plain bizarre trends I've seen in a while. It's a really difficult topic, one that cynically uses a real human condition just for clicks and attention. But it's something we absolutely have to understand so we can know how to deal with it.
Yeah. Down syndrome thirst traps. I genuinely never thought I'd have to say those words together like that. And you know, the most important part of that phrase is a word that's completely missing. Fake. Because that's what this is. We're looking at a completely fabricated, often AI-driven phenomenon that's built from the ground up to deceive and to exploit. These are not real people with Down syndrome making this stuff. Not at all.
So, is it real? The answer is a hard, definitive no, it is not. So in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain and break down exactly how this deeply unethical content gets made, what the dead giveaways are so you can spot a fake, and, the big question, why is this even happening and what can we actually do about it? So let's start by unmasking how this whole deception works.
To really push back against this, we've got to understand it first. So let's deconstruct how these accounts actually operate. What you're seeing is a calculated scam. And I promise you, once you know the signs, they become glaringly obvious.
So how are they pulling this off? Well, these scammers are basically using a two-pronged attack. The first method is creating images completely from scratch using AI. Anyone with a few text prompts can generate a totally synthetic model that looks however they want. The second method, and this one is arguably even more insidious, is when they steal real videos from actual online creators, people just posting their content, and then they slap a so-called Down syndrome filter over it to warp the person's appearance. It's like a grotesque form of digital identity theft.
The crazy thing is how sloppy these fakes often are. The scammers are lazy. Once you know what to look for, they're easy to spot. First, just watch the face really closely. The AI and the digital filters, they tend to glitch, especially around the eyes. You get this unnatural, uncanny valley look that just feels off. Second, there's zero consistency. The model might have one body type in a video on Monday and a totally different one on Wednesday. Hair color, style, it all changes constantly. And that's the biggest giveaway of all. The continuity just isn't there, because it's not one person. They're ripping content from dozens of different real people and trying to pass it off as a single individual. It's just a collage of stolen identities.
Now, to really understand why this trend is so profoundly harmful, we have to step away from the fake digital world for a minute and just ground ourselves in reality. Let's be really clear and respectful about what Down syndrome actually is, because this whole scam is built on a foundation of pure ignorance.
So at its core, Down syndrome is a genetic condition. It's not an illness, it's not a disease, it's just a natural variation in the human genome. See, most of us have 2 copies of chromosome 21 in every cell. People with Down syndrome have 3. That's why I'll also hear it called trisomy 21. And that little bit of extra genetic material just influences how a person's body and brain develop. Now, this genetic variation can lead to certain shared characteristics, sure, like some distinct physical features or some level of developmental delay, but and this is probably the most important thing to understand here, the experience is incredibly diverse. Down syndrome is a spectrum. It is not a monolith.
This quote right here gets to the absolute heart of the matter. This fake trend, what it tries to do is erase individuality. It takes a diverse community of real, living, breathing human beings and reduces them to a one-dimensional, dehumanizing fetish. It totally ignores the fact that every single person with Down syndrome has their own personality, their own sense of humor, their own dreams, their own unique life. Just like anybody else. That's the humanity these scammers are trying to paper over.
And all of this leads us to that central, ugly question. Why? I mean, why would anyone create something so morally bankrupt? Well, the answer, as it so often is depressingly simple.
This is just cynical exploitation, plain and simple. It's for attention and it's for money. The creators are tapping into a really bizarre and disturbing online niche to generate quick, viral content. Shock value gets clicks, right? And those clicks can then be funneled to subscription platforms where they can try to make a quick buck. It's a low-effort, high shock value formula, and they're literally preying on a disability to do it.
If you want to understand the kind of mindset they're targeting, you really don't have to look any further than the comments on these posts. You find phrases like this one. It's dehumanizing, and it shows a clear fetishization of a disability. The scammers know this audience exists, and they are creating content specifically to cater to them, no matter how vile it is.
The one bit of good news, if you can call it that, is that this isn't exactly a sustainable career path. These accounts don't last long. A video will go viral, and it'll attract not just their target audience, but also tons of people who are rightfully disgusted by it. So people report the account, the platform eventually takes it down, and the scammer just has to start all over again. It's this parasitic little cycle of create, get banned, and then recreate.
So after seeing all of this, it is so easy to feel helpless or just really angry, but you're not helpless. There are simple, direct actions you can take that actually make a difference and help disrupt this whole cycle of exploitation.
Okay, listen up, because this is the most important takeaway. Do not engage with this content. Don't comment on it, don't argue in the comments, don't even share it to say how outraged you are. Any engagement, positive or negative, just tells the algorithm, hey, this content is popular, show it to more people. Instead, you do two things. First, report the account immediately. Report it for impersonation, for scams, for hate speech. Second, block the account and just move on. You have to starve them of the oxygen of your attention. That is the single most effective thing you can do to get this content removed.
You know, this entire ugly trend is really just a symptom of a much, much larger issue that all of us are about to face. This isn't just about one specific disturbing corner of the internet. It's about the weaponization of AI to steal our identities, to create fake people, and to exploit real human vulnerabilities for profit. This particular trend might seem clumsy and easy to spot right now, but this technology is getting better and more convincing every single day. So the question we're all left with is a massive one. In a world where anyone can create a realistic fake person out of thin air, how do we build a digital world that actually protects the real ones?